Okay, you ready for this? We're going deep, deep into some really cool English words today. 15 of them, to be exact, and you won't believe what they tell us about, well, about being human.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And the words themselves, they're deceptively simple.
Right, like on the surface, they don't seem like much, but...
But once you start digging...
Exactly. And for this deep dive, our guide is this book here, From Beginner to Advanced, Mastering English with 15 Essential Words.
It's a fantastic resource, really packed with good stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
But we're going to go even further. We're going to unlock the secrets hiding behind these words. Ready to get started.
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, so right off the bat, 3 words caught my eye. Bogus, fishy, and hunch.
Interesting choices. All about that gut feeling, aren't they?
Yeah, that feeling like something's not right. Or maybe, like you just know something. Have you ever had one of those hunches that turned out to be totally right?
Oh, all the time. It's amazing how often our intuition is spot on.
It really is. And what's interesting is, even though these 3 words are kind of similar, they each have their own, shade of meaning.
Oh, for sure. Bogus is pretty clear-cut. Means something's fake, a counterfeit, no doubt about it.
Like those emails promising you millions of dollars, totally bogus.
Exactly. But then you have fishy, and that one adds a layer of, I don't know, instinct, maybe.
Yeah. It's that feeling where, you can't explain why, but something feels off.
Exactly. Like meeting someone new, and on paper, everything seems perfect, great job, nice personality. Mm-hmm. But there's just this fishy feeling. You hesitate.
Like your internal alarm bells are going off.
Precisely.
And then there's hunch, which is, it's almost like a suspicion. You might not have proof yet, but...
But something in your gut tells you to pay attention.
Yeah. Like detectives following hunches to solve cases, or entrepreneurs taking risks based on a hunch.
It makes you wonder how much of our lives are really guided by these hunches. I mean, are we always balancing logic with intuition?
That's a great question. And it's interesting because the guide also lists scramble as one of the power words. And at first I thought scramble, like eggs.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right. But then I saw how it connects to this idea of urgency, almost like that hunch feeling, but, more immediate.
Absolutely. Scramble perfectly captures that frantic energy. Imagine investors scrambling to sell off their stock after a market crash.
Whoa, yeah. Suddenly scramble isn't just about breakfast anymore.
Not at all. It's high stakes, total chaos.
And it makes me think of how we use scramble in everyday situations. Like, I had to scramble to get ready for that meeting.
Exactly. It implies you were improvising, reacting quickly, maybe even feeling a bit flustered.
Which, speaking of, flustered is another word on the list. And I think we've all been there. That feeling of being overwhelmed, put on the spot.
Oh, completely. Like trying to explain something complex and the words just won't come out.
Yes. It's like your brain just shuts down.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How our emotions can hijack our ability to communicate effectively.
It really is. Okay, so we've got intuition, urgency, and now this feeling of being overwhelmed. And you know what often comes with those situations? Awkwardness. And the guide has a word for that too. Cringe.
Oh, cringe is a good one. That feeling of secondhand embarrassment, watching someone tell a bad joke and the whole room goes silent.
Ugh, I can feel it just thinking about it.
Right. Or maybe remembering a time when you said something totally clueless and just wanted to disappear.
Oh, totally. The worst. It's amazing how one word can evoke such a strong feeling.
It's like a universal language of discomfort. And I think it speaks to our deep-seated desire to fit in, to avoid those social blunders.
Absolutely. And maybe that's why some people adopt a more aloof persona.
Aloof being another word on our list, of course.
Yes. And this is where things get really interesting because, aloofness can be intentional, like someone who chooses to keep their distance.
Right, like they're putting up a wall.
Exactly. But then it can also be unintentional, right? A sign of shyness or maybe
discomfort, perhaps.
Yeah. Like that person at a party who's standing alone, not really interacting. Are they choosing to be distant or are they just struggling to connect?
It's a good reminder that there's always more than meets the eye, and we shouldn't judge people based on, a first impression.
Absolutely. And speaking of making judgments, another word that caught my eye was quirk.
Quirk. I love that one.
Too. It's all about those little things that make us unique. Those endearing eccentricities.
Exactly. Think of a friend who always wears mismatched socks, or a colleague who remembers everyone's birthday.
It's like those little things are cracks that let the light shine through.
Mm-hmm.
They show us the real person.
Beautifully put. They make people memorable, endearing.
But sometimes those cracks can lead to, well, blunders.
Ah, yes, blunders. Those moments we wish we could take back.
Mistakes, basically.
Exactly. A careless mistake, often with consequences, could be a misstep at work, a social faux pas, a decision that backfires terribly.
We've all been there.
We have. But sometimes our biggest blunders become our greatest teachers.
That's so true. So just to recap, we've talked about intuition, urgency, feeling flustered, awkwardness, individuality, and even making mistakes. And I'm already seeing how these words are all connected. Like they're painting a picture of, what it means to be human.
Exactly. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. These words can help us navigate the online world, manage our emotions, even nudge ourselves towards positive change.
This is getting really good. Stay tuned, because in part 2, we'll dive into the practical applications of these 15 power words and how they can help you level up your communication skills. Welcome back. It's amazing, isn't it? Just a few words, but we've already uncovered so much.
It's true. And what's exciting is that these words, these ideas, they're not just theoretical.
Right. They have real practical applications. Like we were talking about bogus and fishy before the break.
Words for sniffing out deception.
Exactly. And that feels super relevant right now, especially online with so much information flying around.
Oh, absolutely. Think about social media. Anyone can post anything.
Right. And it's hard to tell what's true and what's not.
Exactly. So being able to spot those bogus claims, those fishy offers, it's crucial. It's like a survival skill for the digital age.
It's true. You really have to question everything. Like, is this source reliable?
Yeah.
Does this information make sense?
You have to be like a detective, constantly on the lookout for clues.
With your bogus and fishy radar on high alert. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. We talked about scramble earlier and how it describes that feeling of frantic energy.
That rush to get things done.
Right. But how can we use this word, this idea, not just to describe a situation, but to actually help us in those moments?
Well, I think understanding scramble can help us be more adaptable, more flexible.
Okay, I like that. Because life is full of unexpected challenges, right?
It is, whether it's a work deadline, a family emergency, even just spilling your coffee on the way out the door.
It's all about how you react in those moments.
Exactly. Instead of getting flustered, freezing up, we can learn to scramble effectively. Think on our feet, find solutions.
So it's like turning lemons into lemonade.
Yes, but maybe with a bit more adrenaline involved.
Exactly. Okay, let's go back to hunch for a minute. We talked about how it relates to intuition, but how do we actually get better at trusting our gut?
It's a great question. I think it starts with paying attention to those subtle cues, those feelings we often ignore.
Like a little voice whispering in your ear.
Maybe. Or a sudden burst of inspiration. Or just a sense that something feels right or wrong.
And then actually acting on those feelings.
Exactly. Even if you don't have all the logical reasons figured out yet, sometimes overthinking can actually hold us back.
Oh, I know that's true for me. But then how do you know when to trust a hunch and when to maybe hold back?
It's a good point. I think experience plays a big role. The more you practice tuning into your intuition, the better you become at recognizing which hunches are worth following.
And sometimes it's about taking a risk.
Right, it is. You might not always be right, but even a wrong hunch can teach you something valuable.
Okay, let's move on to cringe. That word that captures those awkward, embarrassing moments. Is there a way to use this word, I don't know, in a more positive way?
Interesting question. I think cringe can be a powerful tool for self-awareness. When we can recognize those cringy moments in ourselves, it allows us to learn and grow from them.
Okay, yeah, I see that. We all make mistakes, right? Social blunders happen.
They do. It's part of being human. So instead of dwelling on the awkwardness, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I handle this better next time?
So it's like turning those cringes into opportunities for improvement.
Exactly. And don't forget the importance of humor. Being able to laugh at yourself is a valuable skill.
It really is. And sometimes those awkward moments make for pretty funny stories later on.
Absolutely. They become part of your personal narrative.
Okay, let's go back to aloof for a second. We talked about how it can describe someone who's emotionally distant. But how can we communicate more effectively with people like that?
Well, first, it's important to remember that aloof doesn't automatically mean unfriendly.
Right. It could just be their personality.
Exactly. Maybe they're introverted or take longer to warm up to people.
So patience is key.
Definitely. Give them space and try to understand their communication style. Maybe adjust your own approach a bit.
Like instead of bombarding them with questions.
Right. Find common ground. Offer a genuine compliment. Subtle things like that.
It's almost like learning a new language, right?
It is. You have to understand the nuances of the other person's way of communicating.
Yeah, that makes me think. Maybe we're all a little aloof sometimes, without even realizing it.
It's a good point. It's always worth reflecting on our own communication style and how it might be perceived.
Okay, let's talk about flustered again. That feeling of being overwhelmed, tongue-tied. How can we manage that, especially in those high-pressure situations?
I think awareness is the first step. Recognize those physical sensations that come with being flustered. Your heart racing, maybe sweaty palms.
Yeah, it's like your whole body goes into overdrive.
Exactly. And once you're aware of those signals, you can start to develop coping mechanisms. Deep breaths can help.
Yeah, to calm down that racing heart.
And remind yourself that it's okay to pause, to collect your thoughts before speaking.
Sometimes just acknowledging it helps. Like, wow, I'm feeling flustered right now. Give me a second.
Exactly. Be kind to yourself in those moments. It happens to everyone.
It's like giving yourself permission to be human, which brings us back to quirk, that word that celebrates our imperfections.
Love that word.
Me too.
Yeah.
We talked about how quirks make us unique, but how do we embrace those quirks in a world that often pressures us to conform?
It starts with recognizing that our quirks are often strengths in disguise. That unusual hobby you have might make you a more creative problem solver.
Okay, I can see that.
That quirky way of speaking might make you more memorable, more engaging.
So it's about reframing those things, those differences, seeing them as assets.
Exactly. And finding your tribe, those people who appreciate you, quirks and all.
Like finding those mismatched puzzle pieces that somehow fit together perfectly.
Now let's talk about a word that can help us manage our time and energy. Trivial.
Trivial, huh?
Yes. We talked about how it relates to things that seem important in the moment, but in the grand scheme of things.
They don't really matter.
Right. So how can we apply this to our daily lives?
I think it's about constantly asking yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this going to matter a year from now?
That's it. Because we have so many demands on our time and attention, it's easy to get caught up in the trivial stuff.
And miss the things that really matter.
Exactly. It's about setting priorities, filtering out the noise.
Choosing your battles wisely.
Speaking of letting go, let's revisit vent. We discussed how it can be a healthy way to release pent-up emotions.
Right. But how do we make sure we're venting constructively, not just complaining all the time?
I think it's about finding a safe space to vent. A trusted friend, a therapist.
Or even just journaling, right?
Exactly. The key is to find an outlet that allows you to process those emotions without judgment.
And maybe even gain some perspective.
Absolutely. Sometimes just saying those frustrations out loud can help you see things in a new light.
This is also helpful. I'm realizing that these words, they're not just about language. They're about life skills.
You've got it. They're about understanding ourselves, navigating challenges, making better choices.
It's like a toolkit for a more fulfilling life.
And we still have a few more tools to explore. Words that can help us influence behavior, embrace mistakes, and even find moments of beauty in everyday life.
I'm intrigued. Don't miss part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll wrap things up and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder. And we're back. Part 3 of our deep dive. Wow, I can't believe we've covered so much ground already. 15 words. Seems like a lot, but it's flown by, hasn't it?
It has. It's just so fascinating, isn't it? How these, seemingly simple words can open up these whole worlds of meaning.
Right. Like, we could talk about this forever. But we do have a few more words left on our list. And in part 2, we left off talking about vent. That idea of releasing pent-up emotions in a healthy way.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Venting can be so powerful. But what about those times when we need maybe a little push in the right direction?
A little encouragement.
Yeah. The guide mentions nudge as one of the power words, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that one.
Nudge is interesting. It's like you're influencing someone, but not forcing them.
That's it. It's subtle, like guiding them towards a choice, but still letting them decide for themselves. Like, imagine a parent encouraging their kid to try a new food. Or a friend suggesting you finally sign up for that pottery class you've been talking about forever.
Okay, yeah. It's not you have to do this. It's more like, hey, have you thought about this?
Exactly. And it can be so effective, especially when it comes to motivation or, changing behavior. Think about how marketers use nudges all the time to influence what we buy, for example.
It really makes you think about the power of suggestion, doesn't it? How even small nudges can have a big impact.
They really can. Speaking of unexpected consequences, though, Let's talk about glitch.
Glitch, huh? I usually think of technology when I hear that word.
But yeah, we all have those moments where our devices fail us, right?
Right.
But what can we learn from those glitches?
Well, I think glitches remind us that even the most, sophisticated systems aren't perfect. Things break down, they malfunction. There are hiccups, and it's often in those moments of breakdown that we learn the most.
I love that. It's so true. Glitches force us to adapt, to solve problems, to think creatively.
And sometimes they just remind us to back up our data.
Always good advice. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We haven't talked much about words that evoke a certain feeling or aesthetic, and there's one on the list that does just that, posh.
Posh, I think of like fancy hotels, luxury cars, that kind of thing.
It definitely has that connotation, right? But posh can also describe a person's demeanor, their style, their taste. It's about creating an atmosphere of elegance and refinement.
Okay, I like that. So it's not just about material things. It's about a certain way of being.
Exactly. It's about appreciating the finer things in life. Whether it's a beautiful object, a work of art, even a well-written sentence. It's about savoring those moments of beauty and excellence.
And that doesn't have to be expensive.
Not at all. You can create a posh experience for yourself in simple ways. Setting a beautiful table for dinner, listening to classical music, taking a walk in nature. It's about cultivating a sense of appreciation for the world around you.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about nudges, glitches, and even a touch of posh. But what about those times when, we just mess up? The guide includes blunder as one of the power words, and I think it's an important one to address.
It is. Blunder is about those missteps, those moments when we make a mistake, maybe use poor judgment. We wish we could take it back.
We've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's part of the human experience. But I think the key is to not let those blunders define us.
Right. To see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. Some of the most successful people in the world have made huge blunders along the way.
Yeah.
What sets them apart is their ability to bounce back, learn from those mistakes, and keep going.
It's about resilience.
It is. And finally, we come to our last word, clumsy. A word that often has, a bit of a negative connotation.
Yeah, like you're awkward or uncoordinated.
Right. But maybe there's more to clumsy than meets the eye.
I think clumsy reminds us to not take ourselves too seriously. We all have those moments where we trip, spill things, say the wrong thing. It's just part of being human.
It is. And those moments can actually be endearing, can't they? They break the ice, they create laughter, they remind us that perfection is overrated.
It's about embracing our imperfections.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into these 15 power words, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
For me, it's the realization that language is truly powerful. By understanding these words, their nuances, their connections, we can not only communicate more effectively, but also gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
That's beautifully said.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration. Keep learning, keep playing with language. The more you delve into the richness and complexity of words, the more you'll discover about yourself and the world.
And that's a wrap for this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed the journey.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those words flowing.
Welcome to the deep dive. Starting with a new language, it can be a little scary.
It can be.
You've brought us this cheat sheet of 45 essential English sentences. And I have to say, it's a smart move.
Yeah.
These phrase books are designed to give you the essential tools you need to start talking fast.
Yeah.
We're going to take a deep dive into 45 sentences for daily conversation in beginner level and see what we can learn.
What's so fascinating about these cheat sheets is they can be a launch pad.
Okay.
Think of these phrases as the musical scales that you need to master before you can compose a symphony of conversation.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the source jumps right into greetings. We see your classic hello, how are you? But also, hi, how's it going? For a more casual vibe. It's interesting how just changing a word or two can shift the tone, right?
Absolutely, and that's where all those cultural nuances come in. Even a simple how are you can have a wildly different meaning depending on where you are. In some cultures, you might get a 5-minute rundown of someone's entire day, while in others, it's just a quick, fine, thanks.
It makes you realize how much is communicated beyond just the words themselves.
Totally.
It's like there's a whole secret code that you need to crack.
Yeah.
But before we get too lost in the subtleties, I'm drawn to the asking for help section. Can you help me?
Yeah.
It's such a simple phrase. I bet it could be a lifesaver in a tricky situation.
Absolutely, it can. Now, Think about how the phrasing can change the level of politeness.
Oh, yeah.
The cheat sheet gives us, I need some help, please. Adding please adds that touch of formality.
Oh, it's amazing how one word can make such a difference.
Right.
We've also got variations like, I need to see a doctor, or even, can you call a doctor for me?
Exactly. And those variations can be crucial depending on the urgency of the situation. Imagine needing to ask for help in an emergency. You don't want to waste time with like overly formal language.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It makes you appreciate how much thought goes into crafting these seemingly simple phrases.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, let's move on to the giving directions section. Now, go straight and turn left. Might seem basic, but if you're lost in a new city, those instructions become your lifeline.
And notice how these phrases for giving directions often follow a pattern. It's verb plus direction plus landmark. For example, walk 2 blocks and turn right at the bookstore.
You're right, it's like a formula for clear communication.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if there are other patterns hidden within these 45 sentences.
I think that's a great question to keep in mind as we continue our deep dive.
Okay, so let's
keep going.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive.
It really is. Speaking of navigating new situations, let's look at how these phrases can help you when you're hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Because ordering food in another language,
Oh, yeah.
it can feel really daunting.
Yeah.
But these phrases make it a breeze.
Yeah.
I would like, or can I have? They're straightforward and polite.
And notice how the cheat sheet gives us options for different levels of formality.
Okay.
For example, I would like sounds more deferential than can I have.
Yeah.
Linguistically, would like implies a greater degree of politeness because it expresses a desire rather than a demand.
It's fascinating how subtle shifts in language can convey so much.
Right.
I'm also noticing how the source includes phrases about liking and disliking things.
Uh-huh.
Imagine traveling to a new place and being able to say, I like this place. It's such a simple way to express your enjoyment.
And think about the connections you can forge with people.
Yeah.
Sharing your preferences, whether it's for food, activities, or even just a particular spot, it can open up conversations and create a sense of shared experience. It's like you're inviting people into your world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, being able to say, I don't like spicy food, could save you from some serious culinary discomfort.
For sure.
It's all about setting boundaries and communicating your needs, even in seemingly small ways. Do you think that learning these basic phrases can actually boost someone's confidence when traveling or interacting with people from other cultures?
I absolutely believe so. Remember, the goal isn't to become fluent overnight.
Right.
It's about taking those first steps and feeling empowered to communicate.
Yeah.
Even a few phrases can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you needed to communicate something urgently but didn't have the language skills?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Just last month, I was traveling and got a terrible headache. I knew how to say, I am feeling sick,
Yeah.
but I didn't know how to describe the specific symptoms.
And that's where things can get tricky.
Yeah.
The cheat sheet gives us, I am feeling sick as a starting point.
Right.
But think about all the nuances of illness,
Yeah.
a headache, a stomach ache, dizziness. How would you describe those specific symptoms? What other phrases could they have included to cover these situations?
That's a great point. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
It's like the cheat sheet gives you a basic framework.
Yeah.
But you still need to be able to adapt and expand on those phrases to fit specific situations.
For sure.
What other areas do you think this sheet could have expanded on?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
There are so many possibilities.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful to include phrases for clarifying information or asking for repetition.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine you're in a noisy environment and can't quite understand what someone is saying.
Right.
Being able to say, could you repeat that, please? Or can you speak slower? Would be incredibly useful.
Those are great additions.
Yeah.
It makes me realize that effective communication is a two-way street.
Totally.
It's not just about speaking, but also about listening and making sure you understand what's being said. I think we are almost out of time for part 2.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But before we wrap up, I want to emphasize that language learning is a journey, not a destination.
Right?
Embrace the challenges, celebrate the successes, and never stop exploring the fascinating world of language and culture.
Welcome back. I have to say, this deep dive has really gotten me thinking about all the things we take for granted when we communicate.
Yeah.
It's like there's this whole hidden layer of meaning beneath the surface.
It's true. We were just talking about how these basic phrases can help you navigate different situations, but what's equally important is understanding the cultural context in which those phrases are used.
Exactly. Like we talked about how are you? Can be just like a simple pleasantry in some cultures,
Yeah.
but a genuine invitation for a long conversation in others.
Right.
What other phrases in this cheat sheet strike you as being like culturally sensitive?
Well, even something as simple as saying thank you can vary greatly.
Oh, wow.
In some cultures, a simple thanks is sufficient, while in others, a more formal expression of gratitude is expected.
Okay.
For example, in Japan, there are different levels of formality for expressing thanks, depending on the social hierarchy and the nature of the favor.
That's fascinating. So how can someone who's just starting out with a new language learn to navigate these cultural nuances? It seems like it could be a bit overwhelming.
That's a great question. One of the best ways is simply to observe how native speakers interact. Pay attention to their tone of voice, their body language, and the level of formality they use in different situations. It's like becoming a cultural detective.
I love that analogy. You have to look for those subtle clues and piece together the puzzle of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had any experiences where you accidentally miscommunicated because of a cultural difference?
Oh, absolutely. I remember once, early in my English learning journey, I tried to compliment someone on their cooking by saying it was interesting. I meant it sincerely, but in English, interesting can sometimes be interpreted as a polite way of saying something isn't very good. Thankfully, the person understood my intention, but it was a good lesson in the importance of understanding those subtle cultural differences.
It's a good reminder that even when we're trying to be polite, things can get lost in translation.
Ex-
But that's all part of the learning process, right?
Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who's feeling discouraged or overwhelmed by the prospect of learning a new language?
I would say focus on the small victories. Every new word you learn, every phrase you master, every conversation you have, no matter how small, it's a step in the right direction. Celebrate those successes and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow.
I think that's a great note to end on. It's been such a pleasure exploring these 45 essential English sentences with you.
Likewise.
It really highlights how much more there is to language than just memorizing words and grammar rules.
Absolutely. Language is a tool for connection, for understanding, for sharing our experiences with the world. It's a journey worth taking, and I encourage everyone to embrace the adventure.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've learned something new and feel inspired to continue your own language learning journey.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at something I think you'll find really interesting.
Yeah.
The future of English. Specifically, what changes are happening in the language right now and what they mean for you.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating topic, and it's something that affects literally everyone who speaks English.
And that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
Our main source material for this deep dive is this
This is going to be fun.
podcast episode about trends in English, and I think you're going to be surprised by some of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I was when I first heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, for our listeners who maybe haven't really thought about how English is changing,
Yeah.
what would you say is the biggest thing happening to English right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that English is becoming a truly global language.
Global English.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're moving away from this idea that there's one standard way of speaking English.
Oh, yeah.
The Queen's English or American English
Yeah.
or whatever. Because now you have over 1.5 billion people speaking English worldwide,
Wow.
but only like 400 million are native speakers.
That's mind-blowing. I had no idea.
It's crazy, right? So that means most English conversations are actually happening
Oh, wow.
between non-native speakers.
That's wild. So, like, if I'm in, I don't know,
Yeah.
Italy, and I'm talking to someone in English,
Exactly.
they're probably not from.
There's a good chance they're not a native speaker.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's becoming more and more common in all sorts of fields like international business,
Oh, sure.
education, travel, you name it.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
if everyone is speaking English, but they're all speaking it
Right.
a little differently,
Mhm.
does that mean that, like, a correct accent is becoming less important?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
Really?
Yeah, because the focus is shifting more and more towards clear communication
Okay.
that everyone can understand,
Right.
regardless of their accent.
That makes sense.
It's less about sounding like a textbook and more about getting your message across effectively.
So it's kind of like how we use English is more important than
Yeah,
how we sound, I guess.
precisely.
Huh.
And actually, the podcast we're looking at mentions this really interesting study where researchers analyzed
Okay.
business conference calls. And they found that the number of distinct accents,
On these calls.
had tripled in just a decade.
Oh, wow.
So that means you're more likely to encounter a wider range of accents in your own life, too.
Even if I'm not traveling international.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of things like the internet and global communication.
So global English is really changing things.
It is. It's really changing the soundscape of English.
Okay, so for someone like me who maybe wants to get better, understanding all these different accents, what can I do?
Well, this source recommends exposing yourself to as many different accents as possible.
Oh, okay.
So you could try listening to podcasts from different countries,
Okay, I like podcasts.
or watching movies with diverse casts,
Yeah.
or even checking out international news channels.
Ooh, okay, so like BBC.
Exactly, yeah.
Al Jazeera.
Things like that.
Okay, I can do that.
It's all about training your ear
Yeah.
to become more accustomed to the different ways English is spoken around the world.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about global English, but there's another big force shaping the future of English.
Oh, yeah.
Technology. I mean, is technology killing English, or
Well-
what's happening there?
That's a big question a lot of people are asking.
Yeah,
But, it's not as simple as saying technology is killing English.
right.
It's more like technology is changing how we learn
Okay.
and how we use it.
How we use it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
Okay.
get into some specifics then.
Okay.
Like, texting abbreviations, LOL, burb, gonna. I use those all the time.
Me too. It's like a whole new language.
But is that bad?
Well, it's interesting because it's making our communication a lot more informal,
Even in
professional settings.
sometimes, it's blurring the lines a bit. And then you have AI assistants like Siri and Alexa.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually subtly changing how we structure sentences.
Really?
Yeah, because we're getting used to asking them questions
Right.
in very specific ways to get the information we need.
Like almost like a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
So it's training us to be more concise and direct with our language.
Oh, that's interesting.
So technology's influence is pretty pervasive.
Okay. But on the flip side, though,
Yeah.
is anyone else worried about autocorrect making us all worse spellers?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think we've all been there.
It's like I rely on it way too much.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
But are we becoming too reliant on technology?
Well, the source we're looking at emphasizes that even with all this technology, strong writing skills
Okay.
are still essential.
Okay.
AI can help with basic tasks like grammar and spelling.
Right.
But it's human creativity, nuance, and storytelling abilities that really matter. I guess that makes sense.
So technology can assist us,
Yeah.
but it can't replace the human element of language.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because I was getting a little worried.
I understand.
So we've talked about how technology is changing how we write and speak.
Right.
But what about the way we use language in formal settings?
Oh, that's changing too.
It is.
Yeah, the podcast we're discussing mentions how formal English seems to be
Okay.
on the decline, even in professional settings.
Really?
Yeah, like, for example, instead of starting an email with "Dear Sir" or "Madam,"
Yeah.
it's more common now to just say "Hi" and the person's name.
Hmm.
And even the phrases we use in meetings are becoming less formal.
Less formal,
Yeah.
how so?
Well, instead of saying, "I would appreciate your response at your earliest convenience,"
Oh, yeah.
you might say, "Let me know when you have a chance to look this over."
Huh. That does sound a lot more natural.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Sweet spot between.
Yeah. Between being respectful
Yeah.
and approachable.
Okay, so formal English isn't going away entirely.
Not necessarily, but it's evolving.
It's evolving.
Yeah.
Okay, but is there a risk that we might lose some of the nuance and precision that formal language allows?
That's an interesting point, and it's worth considering. But I think what we're seeing
Yeah.
is not necessarily a loss of nuance,
No.
but rather a shift in how it's expressed.
How so?
Well, like in the example I just gave,
The email one.
right? The core message is the same.
Right.
You want the person to respond,
Okay.
but the tone is more conversational.
Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
we're adapting our communication styles
Exactly.
to match the fast-paced digital world we live in.
Precisely. It's all about efficiency and clarity.
I never thought about it that way, but
Yeah.
that's actually really interesting.
It is. It's a reflection of how our lives are changing.
Yeah. Okay, well, this has been really enlightening so far.
Good. I'm glad.
But for someone like me who's
Right.
trying to navigate this new professional world, what's
Yeah.
the best way to approach this? How do I find that balance?
Well, it means that it's more important than ever to learn natural professional phrases
Okay.
that strike that balance.
Between.
Yeah, between formality and friendliness.
Got it.
So think about phrases that convey respect
Okay.
and clarity without sounding too stiff or overly casual.
Oh, okay.
This podcast actually suggests paying attention to the language used by successful communicators.
Oh, so like
Yeah.
learn by example.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Notice how they strike that balance.
Yeah,
And try incorporating similar phrases into your own repertoire.
got it. Okay, that's a great tip.
Oh, so.
Okay, so we've talked about global English and technology's impact, but there's another trend that I find really exciting,
Don't tell me.
and that is how English is constantly
Yeah.
evolving with new words and
Yeah.
expressions popping up
All the time.
all the time.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like language is alive.
It really is.
It's breathing.
Yeah. It's constantly changing.
And it's like, reflecting our collective experiences.
Exactly.
Okay, so get ready for some examples.
I'm ready.
FOMO,
Okay.
binge watch,
Yeah.
deep fake,
Uh-huh.
crypto. These words didn't even exist
I
a
know.
few years ago.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
And now they're part of our everyday vocabulary.
I know. And it makes you wonder what other
Yeah.
new words are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. And it's not just new words either.
What else?
It's new phrases
Yeah.
and new ways of using existing words.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like how? Give me an example.
Well, like adulting.
Oh, yeah.
That word didn't exist a few years ago,
Right.
but it perfectly captures a feeling that a lot of people experience.
That feeling of like
Yeah.
being overwhelmed by the responsibilities of adulthood.
Exactly. And now it's a widely used word.
Okay, so new words,
Yep.
new phrases,
Uh-huh.
and what else?
Oh, and new meanings for old words.
Oh, yeah, like
Yeah.
lit.
Exactly. Or sick.
Yeah, sick used to mean
Right.
like you're ill.
Yeah, now it means something's awesome.
It's totally different.
It's fascinating how language adapts
Yeah.
and evolves over time.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about global English, technology,
Yeah.
new words and expressions.
Uh-huh.
But there's another crucial aspect of the future of English
Oh, okay. What's that?
that I think is often overlooked,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
and that is listening.
Listening.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me more.
As English becomes more global and accents become more diverse,
Right.
our ability to listen effectively is
Right.
becoming more and more important.
That makes sense.
It's not enough to just speak clearly.
Right.
We need to be able to understand different accents,
Yeah.
speaking styles,
Okay.
and cultural nuances.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I think a lot of people struggle with this.
Oh, for sure.
I know I used to get so flustered when talking to someone with a strong accent.
Yeah,
I felt like I was missing half the conversation.
I get it.
But the more I exposed myself to those accents,
Right.
the easier it got.
Yeah, it's like anything else. The more you practice,
Yeah.
the better you get.
And it's like training your ear
Exactly.
to tune into those subtle differences.
Yes, it's like learning to appreciate a new genre of music.
Oh, I like that analogy.
It takes time to adjust your ear, but once you do,
Yeah.
you can start to appreciate the beauty and complexity of it.
Okay, so how can we get better at listening?
Well, this podcast episode actually offers
Oh, cool.
a really interesting technique called shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yeah, you listen to a speaker
Okay.
and then repeat what they say,
Oh.
trying to mimic their pronunciation and rhythm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a great way to not only understand accents better,
Okay.
but also to improve your own pronunciation.
Oh, wow. Two birds, one stone.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And the podcast also suggests watching movies
Oh.
or TV shows in English without subtitles.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It forces you to rely solely on your listening skills,
Yeah.
to follow the plot and understand the dialogue.
Oh, I should try that.
It's a great exercise.
Okay. I'm adding that to my list.
Good.
Now, what's funny is I used to think learning English was all about textbooks and grammar drills.
Oh, yeah, the traditional methods.
Yeah,
That
but
right.
this conversation has really opened my eyes to how technology is
Yeah.
changing the game.
For sure.
And I think we should talk more about that.
Definitely.
But we'll have to save that for
That's
part
fine.
2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
So we'll be right back after a quick break
All right, see you soon.
to discuss how technology is changing the way we learn English.
Awesome. I'm excited to dig into that.
Me too. It's going to be good.
I think so.
All right, we'll be right back.
See you then.
We were talking about how important listening skills are.
with the rise of global English.
Right.
And I think technology plays a huge role there too.
How so?
Well, think about how much we consume audio content these days.
Oh, yeah. Tons.
Podcasts, audiobooks, online courses.
I mean, I practically live in my headphones.
Me too. It's like our ears are constantly learning.
But how is technology actually helping us learn English more effectively?
Well, it's opening up so many possibilities.
Like,
We're seeing a surge in language learning apps
oh, yeah.
like Duolingo and Memrise.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
They offer these gamified experiences
Right.
that make learning fun and addictive.
It's true. I find myself wanting to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a brain workout.
And it's like having a language tutor in your pocket.
That's a great way to put it.
Have you tried any of those apps?
Oh yeah, I've tried a few.
What do you like about them?
Well, I find it fascinating how they leverage AI
Okay.
to personalize the learning experience. For example, some apps use voice recognition to analyze your pronunciation
Oh,
and give you real-time feedback.
it's like having a personal pronunciation coach.
Exactly. And that's something a traditional textbook could never do.
No way. It's incredible how technology is making language learning so
Yeah.
personalized.
It really is.
And it makes me think about AI's role in language learning
Right.
beyond just pronunciation.
Yeah.
We're also seeing AI-powered tools that can analyze your writing and provide grammar suggestions.
It's like having an editor in your pocket.
Totally. Have you experimented with any of those?
Oh yeah, I have.
What do you think?
I'm really impressed by how these tools can identify patterns in your writing
Okay.
and give you personalized feedback.
That targets your specific weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, so it's like a
Mm.
custom-designed language curriculum.
It is. It's really taking personalized learning to a whole new level.
That's amazing. And then there's the rise of online tutoring
Oh yeah.
and language exchange programs,
Right.
which are also being transformed by technology.
It's true.
It's amazing how platforms like italki and Verbaling
Yeah.
connect learners with native speakers all over the world
All over the world.
for real-time conversation practice.
It's really incredible.
It's like a global language exchange
Yeah.
right at your fingertips.
Right.
And it's not just about practicing your speaking.
No.
It's about those interactions.
Yeah.
Exposing you to different accents,
Right.
cultural nuances, colloquialisms.
That's so enriching.
It really is.
You know, it's like you're getting a cultural immersion experience.
At the same time,
Yeah.
as you're improving your English.
Exactly.
So it's win-win.
Absolutely.
I think that's fantastic.
It is. It's really exciting to see how technology is breaking down
Yeah.
geographical barriers
Yeah.
and making language learning more accessible to everyone.
Okay, so for anyone listening who's learning English, take advantage of these
Yes.
incredible advancements in technology.
They can really make a difference.
They can accelerate your progress and make the journey so much more engaging and enjoyable.
For sure. And it can help you connect with people from all over the world.
Yeah, but as we said before,
Right.
the key ingredient is still our own commitment
Yes.
and dedication.
Absolutely.
No matter how sophisticated the tools become,
Right.
your effort and consistency will ultimately determine your success.
That's the bottom line.
And that's something that no app can replace.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your learning.
Yeah. Okay, well said. I think that's a really important point.
I think so too.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into the future of English,
Yeah.
I have a thought-provoking question for you.
Oh, I like those.
How do you think technology will continue to shape the English language over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question.
What new words,
Right.
communication styles,
Yeah.
or even learning methods do you think will emerge?
Well, I think we're going to see even more personalized and immersive
Okay.
language learning experiences.
Interesting.
You know, powered by AI and virtual reality.
Oh, wow. Like, I can picture myself
Yeah.
stepping into a virtual world and practicing my English with avatars.
Exactly. Or attending virtual conferences and workshops
Oh, wow.
led by AI-powered language tutors.
So the possibilities are really
Yeah.
endless.
They are. It's really exciting to think about.
It is, and it kind of feels like we're on the cusp of a new era
I think so too.
in language learning.
Yeah, it's a really transformative time.
I'm excited to see where it all goes.
Me too.
You know, it's funny. I used to think learning English was all about textbooks and grammar drills.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah. But this whole conversation has really opened my eyes to how technology
Really?
is changing the game.
It really is.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think technology is making language learning more accessible,
Okay.
more engaging, and more effective.
More effective, like how so?
Well, for one thing, it's giving us new tools and resources
Oh,
that we've never had before.
like what?
Like language learning apps,
Right.
online tutoring platforms, AI-powered writing assistants.
Yeah.
All of these things are making it easier than ever to learn and improve our English skills.
Okay, so we talked about language learning apps in the last part,
You did.
but I want to dig a little deeper into
Okay.
what makes them so effective. Because I've tried a few myself,
Yeah.
and I'm always amazed by how they can make learning so personalized.
Exactly. It's like having a custom-designed language curriculum.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is the use of AI.
Oh, absolutely.
Like some apps can analyze your pronunciation
Right.
and give you real-time feedback.
It's incredible.
It's like having a personal pronunciation coach.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's not just pronunciation.
No.
There are also apps that can
Yeah.
analyze your writing and provide grammar suggestions.
It's like having an editor in your pocket.
Yeah, totally.
It's really impressive how these AI-powered tools can identify your specific weaknesses
Yeah.
and help you improve them.
Okay, so we've got personalized pronunciation coaching.
Yeah?
We've got AI-powered writing assistance. What else is technology doing to make language learning more effective?
Well, it's also connecting us with other learners
Okay.
and native speakers from all over the world.
Oh, yeah, through online tutoring and language exchange programs.
Exactly.
I love those.
They're fantastic.
It's like you can have a conversation with someone on the other side of the world and get immediate feedback on your speaking skills.
It's invaluable.
It really is. And it's not just about the feedback.
No.
It's about those interactions.
Yeah.
Exposing you to different accents,
Right.
cultural nuances, colloquialisms.
It's like a cultural immersion experience.
Yeah, it really enriches the learning experience.
Absolutely.
So technology is doing all these amazing things to make language learning more effective. But I think it's important to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's not a magic bullet.
Exactly.
The key ingredient is still our own commitment.
Absolutely.
Dedication.
You can have all the best tools in the world, but if you're not willing to put in the effort,
Yeah.
you're not going to see results.
No, you won't. And that's something that no app can replace.
Exactly.
It's about taking ownership of your learning.
Right. It's about setting goals and being consistent with your practice.
Well said. I think that's a really important point.
It is. It's the foundation of successful language learning.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
into the future of English,
Right.
I want to leave you with
Fire.
a final thought-provoking question.
I'm ready.
How do you think English will continue to evolve in the years to come?
That's a great question.
What new trends do you
Yeah.
think will emerge?
Well, I think we can expect to see English becoming even more global,
Okay.
even more diverse, and even more influenced by technology.
So it's going to keep changing.
It's definitely not going to stay the same.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
It is. It's a living language.
Yeah, it's constantly adapting and evolving.
And that's what makes it so exciting to learn and to use.
And I think that's a great note to end on.
I agree.
So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the future of English.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, the future of English
Yeah.
is in your hands.
It really is. So keep practicing,
Keep learning.
keep exploring,
Keep connecting.
and most importantly,
Yeah,
keep having fun with it.
absolutely.
Until next time.
Bye.
Hey everyone, ready for some seriously cool language learning hacks?
Language learning hacks. I like that.
Well, get this. We're diving deep into this podcast episode, all about becoming fluent, the lazy way.
It's a lazy way, huh? Sign me up.
Right. Forget those old boring textbooks. This is about making English a natural part of your life, effortlessly.
Effortlessly. I love that idea. So much of language learning feels like heavy lifting.
I know. So first up, think about your phone, all those apps, all those menus.
It is on it?
Exactly. What if all that became like a secret English tutor?
Whoa, okay, I'm intrigued.
Switch the language settings to English, boom, instant immersion.
Oh, that's smart. It's like you're already spending all that time scrolling and tapping.
Right. And your brain's picking up words and phrases without you even realizing it.
It's like a little language hack right
Yeah.
under our noses.
And speaking of hacks, social media.
Oh, don't get me started. I can spend hours on there.
I hear you. But instead of, following those same old accounts,
I mean, like branch out a little.
yeah, sprinkle in some English-speaking creators, comedians, artists, whatever you're into.
Okay, yeah, that actually sounds fun. It's like you're learning, but it doesn't feel like studying.
Exactly. Different accents, slang, all those cool expressions you wouldn't find in a textbook.
It's like a backstage pass to how people actually use the language.
Totally.
Okay.
Okay, ready for another super simple strategy? It's all about those little moments you have throughout the day.
Okay, shoot. I'm always looking for ways to, like, squeeze in a little learning here and there.
This one's called the 1-minute speaking trick. Literally anyone can find 1 minute.
1 minute, that's it. I can definitely do that.
Right. But here's the thing. You got to use that minute to actually speak out loud in English.
Okay, so, like, what would I talk about?
Anything. Describe what you see, what you're doing, even what you're thinking.
So, like, I'm walking to the kitchen, I'm opening the fridge. I think I want some yogurt. Like that.
Exactly. And the key is to try and think directly in English, not translate in your head.
Oh, right, because that translating thing can really slow you down.
Big time. It's like building a mental muscle for speaking English. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And it's only 1 minute a day. That's totally doable.
Right. Small steps, big results. Okay, so we've talked about passive immersion with your tech and speaking practice. Now, let's talk about how to sound more natural, like less textbook, more like you actually know what you're doing.
Okay, that's definitely something I struggle with, sounding natural.
The secret weapon. Phrases, not just individual words.
Phrases. Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it. Instead of just saying hungry.
You'd say, I'm starving. I could eat a horse.
Exactly. See how much more expressive that is?
Oh, like more fun to say.
Right. And these phrases, they teach you the rhythm of English, those little idioms that native speakers use all the time.
So it's like instead of just memorizing vocabulary, you're learning how to actually use it.
Exactly. It's like learning a dance move instead of just the individual steps.
Okay, I'm getting it. Phrases are the key to sounding smooth.
Now, for a strategy that feels less like study and more like, well, chilling, let's talk TV.
Wait, you're telling me watching TV can make me fluent?
Not just any TV.
Yeah.
You got to watch it the smart way. We're talking subtitles, strategic rewatching, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, break it down for me. How do I watch TV the smart way?
Start with English subtitles, okay? See how the words match up with what you're hearing.
Right, like connect the sounds to the spelling.
Yep. Then, once you feel comfortable, turn those subtitles off and see how much you can understand.
Oh, that's a good challenge. It's like testing yourself, right?
Totally. And if you really want to level up, rewatch those tricky scenes and try to catch all those little details you missed the first time.
And what kind of shows are we talking here?
Well, the podcast recommends sitcoms like Friends, The Office, even Modern Family.
Oh, I've heard those are great for learning English.
They are. Everyday language, funny situations, you can't go wrong.
Plus, it's way more fun than listening to those boring language tapes.
Totally. And speaking of fun, this next tip is all about making English a part of something you already love. Think about your passions, your hobbies.
Okay, let me think. I love music, video games, and reading about history.
Perfect. So listen to English music and look up those lyrics. Play video games with English-speaking players or switch those game settings to English. And for history, well, dive into some English books or articles about the periods that fascinate you.
Whoa, it's like I'm already doing those things. I just need to switch them to English.
Exactly. And when you're learning about something you're actually interested in, it just clicks.
It's like the learning just happens naturally without even trying.
Totally. Now, let's talk about a habit that a lot of language learners struggle with. It's called mental translation, and it can really hold you back.
Mental translation, what's that?
It's that thing where you're constantly translating everything in your head from your native language to English and back again.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. It's like my brain is on overdrive.
I know, right? It's exhausting. And it makes speaking English feel slow and clunky.
Because you're like always one step behind, right?
Exactly. But here's the good news. You can train your brain to think directly in English.
Wait, really? How do I do that?
Start small. Instead of thinking, I need to go to the grocery store to buy food, think, I need food, I go to the store. Simple, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But it feels weird at first.
It does. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's like building a new pathway in your brain.
So it's like teaching my brain to think in English mode instead of translate mode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The podcast also suggests labeling things around your house in English, like table, chair, window.
Oh, and like narrating your actions in English, even if it feels silly.
Exactly. It's all about creating that English environment in your mind.
So it's not just about what's around you, it's about what's going on inside your head, too.
Totally. Now, are these strategies really lazy? Or is this like a different kind of effort?
That's a good question. I think it's less about being lazy and more about working smarter.
Yeah, like tapping into how our brains actually learn best. Right?
Exactly. We're taking advantage of those natural learning processes that are already happening.
It's like tricking our brains into becoming fluent. without all the stress and struggle.
I like that. It's like a sneaky shortcut to fluency.
But even with these effortless strategies, we still got to be consistent, right?
Oh, absolutely. Consistency is key, even with small actions.
Like watering a plant every day, even if it's just a little bit.
Exactly. Those little drops of effort add up over time and help your English blossom.
So even with these lazy strategies, we got to be mindful and make a conscious effort to actually use them.
I'm definitely up for the challenge. It's way more appealing than those boring textbooks.
I hear you. Okay, ready to explore even more lazy language learning secrets?
Bring it on. I'm hooked.
Awesome. We'll be right back after a quick break to dive even deeper.
Can't wait. You know what's really cool about all this? It's like we're using our brain's natural learning power, you know?
It's like we're tricking our brains into fluency, sneaking it in there.
Right. We think of learning like all serious and structured, but our brains are learning all the time, even when we don't realize it.
So true. It's like we're tapping into that hidden potential.
Exactly. And these lazy strategies, they just make the whole process more enjoyable. You know, it's sustainable. You can actually keep it up.
Speaking of keeping it up, the podcast episode didn't really talk about this, but I think it's super important. Consistency.
Oh, yeah. Consistency. That's huge.
Even with these lazy strategies, you got to do them regularly, right?
Totally. Think of it like compound interest.
Okay, I like that. Explain.
Yes. So each little bit of English you expose yourself to, like a song, a show, even just talking for a minute, it's like a tiny deposit.
And over time, those deposits build up.
Exactly. You get those big fluency gains without even realizing it.
So like a little bit every day is better than a whole bunch once a week.
Way better. It's like you're building a muscle, you know? The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
That makes sense. So for everyone listening, you know, who's feeling inspired by all these lazy strategies, what's like the most important thing to keep in mind?
Honestly, I think it's finding the strategies that really work for you, you know, that fit your life and what you enjoy.
It's got to be personalized.
Totally. If you're a music lover, go all in on English music. If you're super social, find ways to connect with English speakers.
You got to feel good, not like another chore on your list.
Exactly. When it feels fun, that's when the magic happens. You're not even forcing it, you're just enjoying it.
Now, the podcast kind of touched on this, but I think it's worth diving a little deeper. The fear of making mistakes.
Oh, tell me about it. That's like the biggest hurdle for so many language learners.
It's like this invisible wall holding you back.
Totally. But here's the thing, making mistakes, it's actually how we learn, right?
I mean, it's not a bad thing.
It's essential. It's like you try something, you mess up, you figure out what went wrong, and you try again.
It's a feedback loop.
Exactly. Think of a baby learning to walk. They fall down a million times, but they keep getting back up.
And eventually, they're running marathons.
Right. So for anyone out there feeling self-conscious about speaking English, just embrace those mistakes.
See them as like stepping stones.
Exactly. Everyone who speaks a second language has been there. It's part of the process.
So true. The more you practice, the less scary those mistakes become.
And speaking of things we might overlook, the podcast didn't talk much about this either, cultural understanding.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
It's like you can know all the words, all the grammar, but if you don't understand the culture, you're missing a piece of the puzzle.
It's like the difference between speaking the language and really connecting with people. Right?
Totally. It's about understanding those little nuances, the humor, the customs.
It's like you can watch those TV shows and movies, you know, the ones we talked about before.
Oh, yeah. Those are gold mines for cultural insights.
You pick up on slang, idioms, things you wouldn't find in a textbook.
Exactly. It's like you're immersing yourself in the culture, not just the language.
So for those who want to go deeper, you know, beyond just speaking the words, what can they do?
Well, watching those shows is a great start, but I think it's also about interacting with English speakers.
Like putting yourself out there, even if it's a little scary.
Great. Join online communities, go to language exchange events, even just chat with English-speaking friends or colleagues.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right, exactly. People are usually happy to share their culture, you know, to help you understand.
It's about being curious, open-minded.
Totally. And remember, cultural fluency, it's a journey, not a destination. You're always learning, always growing.
Now, building on this whole idea of personalization, the podcast kind of hinted at this, finding your own lazy path.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's like taking the framework and making it your own.
It's your language learning adventure.
Exactly. Experiment, try different things, figure out what clicks for you.
There's no right or wrong way.
Right, exactly. Your lazy path might change over time too as you learn and grow.
It's a journey of discovery. Speaking of which, let's talk about setting goals, tracking progress, those things that help you stay on track.
Oh yeah, those are important. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of starting and forget about those practical things.
Like setting off on a road trip without a map. You might get there eventually, but it'll be a lot more confusing.
Exactly. Goals give you that direction, that sense of purpose.
So for those who are just starting out, what advice do you have for setting those goals?
Be specific. Don't just say, I want to be fluent. What does fluency actually look like for you?
You got to define it.
Right. Can you hold a conversation for 10 minutes? Understand a movie without subtitles? Those are things you can actually measure.
And make sure they're realistic, right? Like something you can actually achieve with your lifestyle.
Totally. Start small, build momentum. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Break those big goals down into smaller steps. Mini victories.
Exactly. It's like giving yourself little rewards along the way.
Now, what about tracking progress? How do we actually see how far we've come?
Oh, that's so important for motivation. It's like you're keeping a journal of your language learning journey.
You can see those wins, those challenges.
Exactly. You can use apps, notebooks, even just record yourself speaking and listen back later.
Find what works for you.
Right. And don't compare yourself to others. It's your journey, your progress.
Celebrate every step, no matter how small. Now, shifting gears a bit, we got to talk about the emotional side of language learning. It's not always easy, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a roller coaster for sure. Highs and lows, excitement and frustration.
It's like you're surfing. You're going to wipe out sometimes, but then you catch that perfect wave.
Love that analogy. And the more you practice, the better you get at riding those waves.
So for those feeling discouraged, what advice do you have?
First of all, be kind to yourself. Learning a language is hard.
Give yourself permission to have those off days.
Exactly. Those feelings, they're temporary. They don't mean you're not good at this.
It's normal to feel frustrated sometimes.
Totally. And often those setbacks can be valuable lessons. They help you figure out what to work on.
So it's like those motivational posters, fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Exactly. Resilience is key. Don't give up on yourself.
And language learning, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, definitely. Embrace that long game. Fluency is a journey, not a destination.
It's about enjoying the ride.
Exactly. And there will be plateaus, setbacks. It's normal. Just keep your eye on the prize.
Remember why you started. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve with English?
Connect back to that passion.
Right. It's a gift you give yourself, this whole language learning journey.
I love that way of thinking about it. It's not a chore, it's a gift.
It opens up so many possibilities,
Yeah.
new connections, new experiences.
And it's about growing as a person, expanding your world. Now, one last thing I think we should touch on. The podcast didn't really talk about this, but I think it's so important. It's not just about the destination. It's about enjoying the journey itself.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Sometimes we get so focused on the end goal, we forget to enjoy the process.
Exactly. It's like taking a road trip and just focusing on getting to the destination as fast as possible.
You miss all the cool sights along the way.
Right. And that's where the lazy approach can be so helpful. It encourages us to slow down,
Savor those little moments.
Exactly. Make language learning a part of your life, not just a task you check off your list.
So for those just starting out, how can they embrace that journey mindset?
Be curious. Approach it like you're exploring a new world, all its wonders and surprises.
It's like every new word is a little treasure.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Find what works for you, what makes you excited to learn.
It's your adventure.
Exactly. And remember, language learning, it's lifelong. There's always something new to discover, new connections to make.
It's about growth, exploration, always pushing yourself a little further.
Okay, so we've talked about enjoying the journey, celebrating progress, all that good stuff. But as we wrap up this part, I want to leave everyone with a final thought.
Okay, hit us with it.
Remember this, language learning, it's a gift you give yourself. It's about self-discovery, about connecting with the world in a deeper way. So, enjoy the ride. Embrace those lazy strategies, find what works for you, and never stop exploring.
That's awesome. And you know what? I think we have time for one more little nugget of wisdom before we move on to the final part.
Okay, I'm ready. What's the nugget?
Remember, there's no finish line in language learning. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. So be patient with yourself, celebrate every milestone, and keep that curiosity alive.
I love that. It's a journey, not a race.
Wow, it feels like we've cracked the code, like we found the secret formula for effortless fluency.
It's like a cheat sheet for language learning, but like the good kind of cheat sheet.
Totally. We're not talking about skipping steps or taking shortcuts, but about making it, I don't know, more natural.
Yeah, like less about forcing it and more about letting it happen.
Exactly. Remember at the beginning of this deep dive, our mission was all about exploring the lazy learner's path.
Right. Finding those sneaky strategies that even the busiest people can use to boost their English.
And I think we've uncovered some pretty awesome stuff, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Things I never even thought about before, like changing your phone settings or using social media to learn.
Right. It's like those little tweaks can make a huge difference.
And we talked about mindset too, right? Embracing those mistakes, connecting with the culture. It's not just about memorizing words, it's about the whole experience.
Because fluency isn't just a destination, it's a journey.
Right, exactly. It's about who you become along the way, the connections you make, the way your world extends.
So, for everyone listening who's feeling inspired, ready to start their own lazy learning adventure, what's like one last piece of advice you'd give them?
That's a tough one. I guess I'd say start small, be consistent, and most importantly, have fun.
Fun, yes. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Exactly. Find what sparks your interest, connect with people who share your passion, and remember, language learning should be a joy.
I love that. It's a gift you give yourself, not a punishment.
Totally. It's about opening up to new possibilities, embracing that journey of becoming fluent in English.
So, as a final recap, let's remember those 6 key strategies we've talked about. Number 1, change your environment.
Turn your tech and entertainment into English tutors.
2, the 1-minute speaking trick. Just 1 minute a day can make a difference.
Little actions, big results.
3, learn phrases, not just words.
It's like a secret code to sounding more natural.
4, watch TV the smart way.
Use those subtitles strategically. Pick shows you actually enjoy.
5, connect English to your passions.
Make learning feel effortless by tying it to things you already love.
And 6, stop the mental translation.
Train your brain to think directly in English.
And remember, these are just starting points, right?
Totally. The real magic happens when you personalize these strategies, figure out what works best for you, experiment, have fun with it.
That's the beauty of the lazy approach. It's all about finding your own unique path to fluency.
And on that note, I think it's time for our final thought-provoking question, the one we leave our listeners with to ponder,
Okay, hit me. What's the question?
What's one small change you can make today to bring more English into your life, even if it's just for a few minutes?
Ooh, I like that. It's a call to action, right?
Exactly. It could be listening to an English song, watching a funny video clip, even just labeling a few things around your house in English.
The important thing is to take that first step. Any step.
Exactly. Small actions build momentum. And remember, this is your journey, your adventure. So make it fun, make it your own, and enjoy every step of the way.
That's a perfect note to end on. Happy learning, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Keep those language adventures going. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another deep dive, this time into the world of American versus British English.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and we're going to go beyond just the basic, the stereotypical stuff that you always hear about.
Right.
And really kind of dig into like the subtle, the sneaky little differences that even trip up like advanced English speakers.
I know, because I'm one of them.
Yeah, like even, people who are like, very, very fluent in both, but there's still some little things that are like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So we've got 15 words and phrases.
Okay.
To guide you through these sort of tricky transatlantic conversations. And trust me, you will be surprised by some of these things.
I'm ready to be surprised.
Okay, good. So what I think is interesting is that it's not just like vocabulary swaps. It's like it kind of gives you a peek into the history and the culture and even the humor of both countries.
Absolutely. Yeah. They really do reflect those deep cultural differences and sometimes even values.
Yeah, like almost like a window into like a different mindset.
Exactly.
So let's jump right in with our first word. It's one that's kind of been popping up a lot lately in both American and British English, but with a slightly different vibe. And that word is
bespoke.
Bespoke.
Yeah. You've probably seen it like in marketing materials and stuff, but how does it actually differ across the pond?
Well, in both American and British English, it basically means the same thing, which is custom made, made for a particular customer.
Right.
But in the U.S., at least, it still kind of has that connotation of something really exclusive associated with like luxury goods and services.
So like a bespoke suit or like
a bespoke suit, a bespoke car.
Right, like a Rolls Royce or something?
Exactly. Yeah. So it still signals like luxury prestige and really that attention to detail.
It's like it's become a marketing word almost.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. And it's becoming more common.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
still has that sense of like, this is special.
Yeah. This is not just off the rack. This is something really unique. Whereas in British English, it's much more commonplace.
Interesting.
You can use it for anything that's customized, whether it's a wedding dress,
Right.
kitchen cabinets, you name it. Our source even gives the example. She ordered a bespoke wedding dress from a designer in London.
Wow. Yeah. So it doesn't have that luxury kind of vibe to it.
Not so much. It's just like, I had this made for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just for me.
Interesting. Okay. So the same word can have these subtle like shades of meaning depending on, where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I like that.
It's fascinating, and it makes you realize how much context matters when you're communicating.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit to a word that I think often trips people up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the classic Q versus line dilemma.
Ah, yes, the great transatlantic Q debate.
Right.
One of those fundamental differences that just seems so simple, but they reveal so much about those cultural perspectives.
Right.
So in the US, you stand in line, which to me kind of implies a more individualistic approach, like everyone's just focused on their own thing,
Right.
getting it done. Whereas in the UK, you queue,
Right.
and that suggests orderliness,
Right.
shared social etiquette. Like, we're all in this together. We're all going to wait patiently for our turn.
And it's almost like a cultural institution in Britain, the concept of queuing.
Absolutely. It is. It's deeply ingrained in British society. You queue at the bus stop, you queue at the grocery store,
Right.
you even queue at the pub.
Yeah, you better queue up.
Yeah. And there's an unspoken understanding that you wait your turn. It's just part of their social fabric.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, is that reflected in other aspects of British life? Is that
yeah.
that whole like sense of order and politeness and
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, let's move on to a word that describes a feeling we all know too well, but express it differently. Utter exhaustion. So in American English, we might say exhausted, but our British friends have a wonderfully evocative word for this, and that word is knackered.
Knackered. Knackered. Oh, yeah. I love that word.
It's a good one, isn't it?
It is. It's so descriptive. It goes beyond just being tired.
Yeah.
It really conveys that sense of being completely drained, worn out.
Right, like you've just hit a wall.
You've hit a wall, you're done. Yeah. And while Americans might use exhausted in a similar way, knackered has this playfulness to it. Like
Right.
almost like they're poking fun at their own fatigue,
Right.
which is very British.
Yeah, it's a good one. And our source uses the example, I'm absolutely knackered after working a double shift,
Oh, yeah.
which I think perfectly captures that.
It does.
But I'm curious, do you think that playful tone is like a way of downplaying the severity of it?
Possibly. Yeah, it could be like a coping mechanism.
Right.
Like make light of a difficult situation, which, as we've said, is very British.
Yeah, very British for sure. Okay, ready for our next word?
Hit me.
Okay, so this is a word that is a bit of a chameleon. It changes its meaning depending on which side of the pond you're on, and that word is fancy. Fancy, yeah, so in American English, fancy typically means, something elaborate
Right.
or upscale, like a fancy dinner or a fancy hotel.
Fancy restaurant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But in British English, it takes on a whole other meaning.
It does. It has like a secret double life.
Right.
It means to want or to like something. So you might ask a British friend, do you fancy a cuppa?
Do you fancy a cuppa?
Which means, would you like a cup of tea?
Right.
So simple question, but a very different meaning.
Yeah, I'd say yes to that any day of the week.
Exactly.
A cuppa. Okay, on to our next word, another one that showcases the British love for expressive language. This one is chuffed.
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 Love it.
It's a good one.
Yep.
A good one.
Yep.
It expresses a feeling of great delight or satisfaction.
Yeah, it goes beyond just being pleased.
Right.
It's like absolutely thrilled over the moon, delighted.
So it's like pleased on steroids.
You could say that, yes, if your British friend says, I'm chuffed to bits about your new job, they're not just happy for you, they're ecstatic.
Yeah, they're like really, really happy for you.
Really, really happy.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
I love that it's such a specific word,
It is.
for that very specific emotion.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
captures that feeling of pure joy.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some seasonal vocabulary. When those leaves start changing color, and Americans call it fall.
Our British friends call it autumn.
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 Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always found it interesting how those different words evoke different images in my mind.
Right.
Fall feels more crisp.
Yeah.
and dynamic, like the leaves are like actively falling.
Yeah.
Whereas autumn has a more mellow, kind of wistful feel to it.
More romantic, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting how these subtle differences in wording
Yeah.
can like shape our perceptions of the world around us.
Absolutely. It really highlights how language can influence our thoughts and even our emotions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, let's explore how Americans and Brits measure time.
Okay.
What do you got for me on this one?
Well, this is a fun one. In British English, they use the word fortnight to denote 2 weeks.
A fortnight.
Yeah. Whereas Americans would simply say 2 weeks.
Right.
Fortnight sounds a little old-fashioned.
Yeah, it does a little bit more literary almost.
Right.
Or historical.
Yeah.
But it's still quite common in British English.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's got a charm to it.
Yeah, like a little nod to a bygone era.
Absolutely.
It's cool. Okay. Let's talk about another area where we see these transatlantic differences, and that is taking a break from work or school.
Okay.
So, Americans go on vacation.
The British go on holiday.
Holiday. Right? Same concept, different word. But it's interesting, this distinction kind of highlights how language evolves. Both words, vacation and holiday, have Latin roots.
Right.
But they've kind of taken on slightly different meanings over time.
They've each gone on their own little linguistic journey.
Yeah.
Reflecting the cultural nuances of their respective countries.
Right. Like the evolution of language.
Exactly. Okay, now we're going to step into a potential minefield of misunderstanding. This is all about wardrobe essentials. What Americans call pants.
The British call trousers.
Trousers. But here's where things get really interesting.
Yes.
In British English, pants typically refer to underwear.
Underwear.
So a simple statement like, I need new pants.
Could lead to some very awkward situations.
Oh my God.
If you're talking to someone from the UK.
Like, so you're in London, you're like, I need some new pants. And they're like,
You're looking at you like, what?
oh.
Yeah. You want to buy new underwear right now?
Like,
So be careful with that one.
be very, very careful.
Stick with trousers if you want to avoid any awkwardness.
Okay, trousers. Got it. Speaking of potentially embarrassing mix-ups, our next word is one that I think Americans need to be extra careful with, and that word is rubber.
Rubber.
Now, in British English, this is a simple word. It means an eraser. You know that thing you use to rub out pencil marks?
Right.
But in American English, rubber has a completely different meaning.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And it's not something we're going to discuss on this show, but...
we'll let your imagination run wild.
Yeah.
But suffice it to say, it's best to stick with eraser to avoid any red faces.
Yes, stick with eraser.
Stick with eraser.
Americans, be very, very careful.
Yes.
Our source really emphasizes this. They're like, warning.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit to places of healing, what we call in American English. A doctor's office in British English is often called a surgery.
A surgery?
A surgery. But here's where things can get a little tricky.
They can.
Because in British English, surgery can also refer to the consultation hours at a doctor's office. So you might hear someone say, I'm going to the surgery at 9 a.m. for a checkup.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean they're having a medical procedure.
No, it just means they're going to see their doctor.
Right.
During their consultation time.
Got it.
So again, context is everything.
Yeah.
When it comes to language.
Right. Very, very true. Okay, let's move on to a mode of transportation that helps us conquer those tall buildings. Americans take the elevator.
The British hop in the lift.
The lift, two different words, same vertical journey.
Exactly.
And, this difference, I think, goes way back to the early days of these contraptions. Mm-hmm. Elevator, with its emphasis on lifting, kind of reflects that American focus on functionality.
Yeah.
Whereas lift, with the more simpler, elegant sound, might reflect a British appreciation for understated design.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
It is like the words themselves.
Yeah.
Kind of give you a clue.
They do.
Okay, ready for another housing showdown?
I am.
Okay, in American English, we live in apartments.
Our British counterparts reside in flats.
The flat. So both words paint a picture of, like, a self-contained living space within a larger building.
Right, yeah.
But they do conjure up kind of different images.
They do, don't they?
Like apartment to me feels more modern and spacious.
Modern, spacious, maybe even a little bit luxurious.
Right.
Whereas a flat feels cozier, more intimate.
Right.
Maybe even a little bit quirky.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So apartment might be like a sleek high-rise.
Exactly.
And a flat might be like, charming,
yeah,
older, building with character.
A little more character, yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how these words can carry such nuanced cultural baggage.
They do. It's fascinating.
It is. Okay, speaking of nuanced cultural baggage, let's talk about entertainment.
Okay.
So Americans go to the cinema to watch a movie.
In British English, they go to the cinema to see a film.
A film.
2 words.
Same cinematic experience, but again, they reflect a little bit of a different perspective.
Right.
Like movie emphasizes movement, action.
Mm-hmm.
The spectacle of it all.
The entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas film kind of highlights the artistry, the craft.
The medium itself.
Yeah. Like movie is more about the entertainment value.
Right.
And film is more like it's elevated to an art form.
Exactly. And that distinction really speaks volumes about how Americans and Brits approach cinema in general.
It really does. It's really interesting. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about food.
Okay.
You know, when we're craving that restaurant meal,
Yeah.
but we don't feel like dining in,
Right.
Americans order takeout.
The British go for takeaway.
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 And here's where things can get a little tricky again, because in British English, takeaway can refer to both the food itself and the restaurant that provides it.
Yes.
So you might hear someone say, let's get Indian takeaway. And that could mean either ordering food or going to an Indian takeaway restaurant.
Exactly.
So again,
Context.
context is everything. You got to pay attention
Absolutely.
to those subtle cues in British English to make sure you're on the same page.
Right.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, from bespoke suits to knackered Brits. We've explored some really interesting differences between American and British English, uncovering these hidden layers of history, culture, and humor along the way. And I think it's been fascinating to see how those differences can sometimes lead to miscommunication,
Absolutely.
or at least a little bit of confusion, but it also makes the learning process all the more interesting.
You've done an excellent job of not just identifying these differences, but also analyzing what they reveal about the two cultures.
Well, I've had a wonderful guide, but we're not done yet.
No, we are not.
There are still more linguistic gems to uncover.
Yes.
So buckle up. Get ready for part 2, where we delve into even more fascinating distinctions, including some surprising transatlantic twists on everyday words and phrases.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
You won't want to miss it.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the wonderfully quirky world of American versus British English.
And I think you'll find these next few examples particularly intriguing.
Good.
We're going to delve into some everyday words and phrases that take on surprisingly different meanings across the Atlantic.
Okay, hit me with those linguistic curveballs.
Yeah.
What's first on our list?
Let's start with something we all do every day walk in American English. We use the sidewalk to get from point A to point B.
But in British English, they stroll along the pavement.
Same concrete path, different terminology.
Right.
And this seemingly simple distinction actually reveals a lot about cultural perspectives in the U.S. The emphasis is on the side as if it's an addition to the road, almost an afterthought.
Right.
But in the UK, the pavement is the main focus, the designated space for pedestrians.
That's a really interesting observation. It makes you wonder if that difference in terminology reflects a broader difference in how pedestrians are viewed or treated in both countries.
It's definitely something to ponder. Okay, let's move on to something that's near and dear to all of us, food, specifically those sweet treats that bring us joy in American English. We indulge in cookies.
While our British friends savor biscuits.
Now, this is where things can get a bit tricky because what Americans call biscuits are more like what the British would call scones.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's a classic case of a transatlantic word swap.
And a potentially confusing one. Especially if you're craving a chewy chocolate chip cookie and end up with a crumbly, buttery scone. Instead, talk about a culinary disappointment.
I know, right? A total letdown. Speaking of potential disappointments, let's move on to another food-related distinction that often causes confusion snacks when we're feeling peckish and want a quick bite. Americans reach for chips.
While the British opt for crisps.
And to make things even more interesting, what Americans call French fries, the British call chips.
That's a total chip swap.
It is, and one that can lead to some amusing misunderstandings, especially when ordering food at a restaurant.
Right. Imagine asking for chips in London, expecting a side of fries, only to be served a bag of what you'd call potato chips.
Exactly, or vice versa.
Oh, man.
It's a good reminder that even seemingly simple words can have very different meanings depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's shift gears and talk about something a bit more practical: transportation in American English. We fill up our cars with gas.
While in British English, they top up with petrol.
Same fuel, Different terminology.
And this distinction is particularly important if you're ever driving in a foreign country and need to find a petrol station.
Right.
You don't want to end up stranded with an empty tank because you used the wrong word.
That would not be good.
No, not at all. Speaking of transportation, let's talk about those iconic red buses that grace the streets of London. In American English, we'd simply call them buses.
But in British English, they're often referred to as coaches.
Now, this is where things can get a bit confusing because in American English, a coach typically refers to a long-distance bus or a private bus used for tours or sporting events.
Right. Like a tour bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're in London and someone tells you to catch the coach, they're probably not talking about a luxury tour bus.
Right.
They simply mean to hop on the regular city bus.
Got it. It's all about context.
It is, and it's a reminder that even seemingly straightforward words can have multiple meanings depending on the region and situation.
Okay, let's move on to a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Books. When we finish reading a book, Americans typically return it to the library.
While in British English, they take it back to the library.
It's a subtle difference, but I find it fascinating because it highlights how even simple verbs can vary across regions.
And those subtle variations can sometimes reveal underlying cultural nuances. For instance, the American emphasis on returning might suggest a sense of ownership as if the book is being given back to its rightful place.
Right.
Whereas the British use of taking back might imply a more transactional approach, as if the book is simply being returned to its point of origin.
Like almost like we borrowed it and now we're taking it back.
Exactly. It's like those different verbs offer a glimpse into the unspoken rules and expectations surrounding books and libraries in both cultures.
That's really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up this segment with a distinction that's particularly relevant in today's digital age. When we want to find information online, Americans typically use Google to search.
While in British English, they often use Google to look something up.
Again, it's a subtle difference, but it reflects how language adapts to new technologies and cultural practices. Search feels more active and directed, like you're on a mission to find specific information.
Right.
While look something up feels more casual, like you're simply browsing for information or clarifying something you're curious about.
And that distinction might reflect a broader cultural difference in how Americans and Brits approach information gathering. It's fascinating food for thought.
It really is. Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this segment, from sidewalks and cookies to petrol and coaches. We've explored a wide range of American versus British English variations, uncovering hidden layers of cultural meaning and potential pitfalls for the unsuspecting traveler or language enthusiast.
You've done a fantastic job of not only highlighting these differences, but also prompting us to think critically about what they reveal about the two cultures and how they influence our communication.
Well, having you as my expert guide has made this journey both insightful and enjoyable. But our linguistic adventure isn't over yet, is it?
Not quite. We still have more fascinating distinctions to uncover in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, I'm ready. Bring on part 3.
Get ready for some even more intriguing and potentially confusing transatlantic twists on everyday words and phrases. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into American versus British English.
I feel like we've uncovered so many linguistic surprises already.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling there are still more gems waiting to be discovered.
I think so too. So are you ready to wrap up this transatlantic adventure with a bang?
Absolutely. We've explored some fascinating vocabulary variations.
Yep.
But now let's delve into a few more examples that highlight those subtle but significant ways in which American and British English diverge, even in the simplest of actions.
Okay, bring it on. What linguistic mysteries are we unraveling in this final segment?
Well, let's start with something we all do when the temperature drops: bundle up.
Right.
In American English, we put on a sweater when we need an extra layer of warmth.
But in British English, they do in a jumper.
Jumper, same cozy garment, different name.
Right. And that difference in terminology might actually reflect a subtle difference in cultural attitudes toward clothing.
Possibly.
Like sweater emphasizes the practical purpose of the garment, keeping you warm when you sweat.
Right.
But jumper has a more playful, almost whimsical feel to it.
Yeah, like it's meant to make you feel light and bouncy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that observation. It's amazing how even something as simple as a name for a piece of clothing can reveal these subtle cultural nuances.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It is. Okay, let's move on to something that's sure to spark some friendly rivalry. The beloved game of soccer.
Oh, yes.
In American English, we call it soccer.
Well, our friends across the pond simply refer to it as football.
Football Now, this is a classic example of a transatlantic word swap
It is.
that often leads to some good-natured teasing.
Absolutely. Especially during major sporting events like the World Cup.
Oh, yeah. I can just imagine the banter back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
You call it soccer, we call it football, but we all know who the real fans are.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, we're all united by our love of the game no matter what we call it.
Right.
It's a reminder that even when our words differ, we can still find common ground through shared passion.
Right. Very true. Okay. Speaking of common ground, let's tackle another difference that often trips people up: how we talk about time.
Okay.
So in American English, we might say, I have class this afternoon.
While a British person might say, I have class this evening.
And this is where things can get a little tricky, because afternoon and evening don't always have the same boundaries in both varieties of English.
Right.
In general, Americans tend to use afternoon for a broader period of time, extending later into the day than what British English speakers might consider afternoon.
So it's almost like the American afternoon stretches further into the evening hours.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that can definitely lead to confusion if you're trying to schedule something with someone from the UK.
Definitely always best to clarify to avoid any scheduling mishaps.
Right. Good point. Okay, and speaking of potential mishaps, let's delve into the world of higher education, another area where American and British English use different terms for the same concept. So in American English, we attend college after high school.
While in British English, they go to university.
University, same concept, different terminology.
And this distinction can be important when navigating academic conversations or applying to institutions in different countries.
Right.
Imagine telling a British professor that you're applying to college when they're expecting you to say university.
Oops. Yeah, it could be a little awkward.
A little bit, yeah. So it's all about using the right lingo to fit in and avoid those awkward moments.
Right. Very true. Okay, ready for our final linguistic showdown?
I believe so.
All right. Let's explore how Americans and Brits express that feeling of being overwhelmed with work or commitments.
Okay.
In American English, we might say, I'm slammed.
While a British person might say, I'm snowed under.
Snowed under, both expressions convey that sense of being buried under a heavy workload. But they use different imagery to paint that picture.
They do.
I'm slammed. Kind of evokes a sense of sudden impact.
Yeah, like you've been hit with a ton of bricks all at once.
Right, exactly. Whereas snowed under suggests a more gradual accumulation, like you're slowly being buried beneath a growing pile of tasks.
And those subtle differences in imagery can actually reveal a lot about how Americans and Brits approach work and stress.
That's an interesting thought.
It is fascinating how even the simplest of phrases can offer a glimpse into those deeper cultural patterns.
It really is why we've really gone deep on this journey.
We have.
From sweaters and football to afternoons and universities, we've explored so many fascinating nuances of American versus British English, uncovering these hidden layers of history, culture, and even psychology along the way.
I think it's been a truly enriching exploration.
I agree. I feel like I've gained a whole new level of understanding and appreciation for these two varieties of English.
Me too. It's been fascinating to see how language is more than just a tool for communication. It's a reflection of our cultural values, our historical experiences, and even our individual perspectives on the world.
It really is, and that's what makes the study of language so endlessly fascinating.
Absolutely.
There's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to appreciate.
Always.
So I hope our listeners have enjoyed this deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of American versus British English as much as we have.
I'm sure they have. And remember, the journey of linguistic discovery doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep celebrating the diversity and richness of language in all its forms.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, so anyone out there want to pick up English quick, like just the bare bones stuff?
Essentials.
Yeah. We found this YouTube video
Oh, yeah.
called 33 Most Useful English Words for Beginners.
Okay.
It's basically like a cheat sheet.
Like a crash course, kind of.
Yeah. For anyone just starting out. You know.
Right. Interesting.
And what's really cool is how they've like grouped these words.
Oh, yeah. How I like categorization.
Yeah.
Keeps things tidy.
So it's like greetings to get you by,
Oh, yeah.
everyday nouns and verbs.
So it's like they're building from the ground up.
Yeah. It's like a little survival pack,
Oh, that's interesting.
but for language.
Yeah.
So
Like,
we're
pretty
going
cool.
to dive into this and see if they can really pull off this
What
promise
price is that?
that you can have like basic conversations
Oh, wow.
just from these 33 words.
Okay.
So first up, we have the basics. Greetings. We're talking hello, goodbye, good morning.
The pleasantries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can't forget please and thank you.
Of course not.
You got to be polite.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how those are like universal. Like no matter what language.
It transcends language.
You've got a way to be polite, to acknowledge someone. It's really interesting.
It's more than just the words.
It really is.
You're establishing a connection.
A rapport.
Yeah. Like a thank you can go a long way.
Absolutely.
Anywhere in the world.
But then the video gets into what they call survival words.
Survival words.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Like imagine you're in a new place.
Okay.
You don't speak the language.
Right.
You need help.
Okay.
So think like yes, no help.
Okay, basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like, where is the bathroom?
Oh, yeah.
Essential.
Essential.
I remember being in this market in Morocco.
Oh, wow.
And it was so crowded.
Yeah.
I was completely lost.
Yeah.
And just knowing how to say, where is the bathroom?
Yeah.
In like their language.
Right.
Was a lifesaver.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
Oh, my gosh.
It's amazing how those like simple phrases can suddenly feel so crucial.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But the video doesn't stop there.
No, they keep going.
They dive into common nouns like food, money, time. I mean, we use these all the time. But are they really the key?
That's what I was thinking.
To unlocking deeper conversations like they're suggesting?
Yeah, because I was thinking like,
yeah,
wouldn't it be more interesting to
like
start with verbs?
Oh.
Like to describe actions.
Okay.
Or even feelings, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
And see where they go with it.
Fair enough. Let's hear them out.
Okay.
All right.
So after nouns, they move on to verbs.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Eat, drink, go, come.
The action.
All the actions.
Yeah.
And what's really cool
what's that?
is they emphasize using different tenses.
Ah.
Like went versus going.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of beginners trip up on.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Because mastering those verb tenses lets you talk about the past, present, future.
Right.
Adds a whole new dimension to how you express yourself.
It's like time travel.
Yeah.
But language needs more than just actions.
Okay, what else does it mean?
Needs some flavor.
Needs
some
spice.
Yeah. So that's where adjectives come in,
right,
according to the video.
Okay.
Words like good, bad, big, small, all those ways to describe things.
Right.
And inject some feeling into what you're saying.
Inject some emotion.
Yes.
It is fascinating how just one adjective can completely change the tone of a sentence.
I like that.
Good is fine.
Okay.
But saying something is fantastic or terrible.
Ooh.
Now those words.
Now we're talking.
They pack a punch.
Yeah.
And the video really encourages viewers to explore synonyms like that, to expand their vocabulary.
It's like they're saying.
What are they saying?
Like, don't just tell me it's bad.
Right?
Tell me how W bad.
Exactly.
Now I'm curious. What do you think about their choice of adjectives?
Okay.
Are those really the most essential ones to learn first?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
While those are certainly common, I wonder if prioritizing adjectives related to emotions might be more impactful.
Interesting.
Think about words like happy, sad, excited, scared.
Okay.
Those tap into a deeper level of communication, allowing you to express how you feel and connect with others on a more personal level.
Yeah, you're right. Those definitely seem more powerful than big or small.
Yeah.
You put it that way.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got nouns,
got it,
verbs, adjectives. What's missing?
What is missing?
Questions.
The question mark.
Yes.
Okay.
They're the key to unlocking information.
Right.
And, you know, like the video suggests having deeper conversations.
Okay.
You know, what, where, when, why, how. Imagine trying to navigate a new city without those.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
Not fun.
Yeah.
But it's more than just getting directions.
Right.
Those question words are the starting point for learning about anything, right?
Yeah.
It's how we satisfy our curiosity.
Totally.
Explore the world around us.
And just like with the other word categories, you know,
Yeah.
These questions can lead to so many different conversations.
Oh, I bet.
Like just starting with where
Okay.
could lead you to discussions about travel,
Oh, yeah.
history, culture, who knows?
Right.
It's really exciting.
Very exciting.
But before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
let's take a little pause and we'll come back for part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good. Welcome back. Ready to go a bit deeper with this idea.
Yeah. Are 33 words really enough for real conversations?
I mean, it's a big claim,
Right.
but
But they're thinking big.
yeah.
So one thing they emphasize is like context.
Context. Okay.
Like just taking the word good
Mm-hmm.
can mean so many different things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It all depends on how you use it.
Right. Good could describe food,
Yeah,
a person's character,
exactly.
even the weather.
Yeah.
Like it all
You
depends.
can't just memorize definitions.
Right. You got to understand how it works,
Yeah.
how the word functions
In a sentence.
in a real life situation.
Yeah. So that's where practice comes in.
Practice. Okay.
They talk about using these words in everyday conversations.
Right.
Maybe even doing like role play.
Oh, like little scenarios?
Yeah. To get comfortable.
I like that.
I actually did that when I was learning Spanish. I
Right.
felt so silly, but it really helped.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you use the words in context, you
Mhm.
start to like
Yeah.
internalize the nuances
Yeah.
and you build confidence.
Get that confidence.
And it doesn't always have to be formal practice either.
Oh, that's true.
They also mention listening for these words,
Okay.
like in real conversations,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
like movies or TV shows,
Okay.
like passive learning,
Right. Right.
but you're still absorbing the language.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah, we're surrounded by opportunities to learn,
We are
even when we don't realize it.
all the time.
Speaking of noticing patterns,
Yeah.
I thought it was cool how they broke down the 33 words
Oh, yeah. How so?
into those categories.
Right.
Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and so on.
It's like they're giving you a framework
Yeah.
for understanding how language works.
It's like a little toolbox.
Oh, a linguistic toolkit?
Yeah.
You got your nouns to name things, verbs to describe actions,
Yeah.
adjectives to add detail. And then once you get how those pieces fit together,
Yeah.
you can start building more complex sentences.
It's pretty clever
It is,
when you think about it.
but they don't just leave you with a toolbox.
No, they give you some tips,
Okay.
like
Oh,
for practice.
yeah.
Like using flashcards to test yourself,
Oh, yeah.
speaking out loud
Uh-huh.
to get the pronunciation down.
Those multisensory approaches are helpful
Yeah.
for language learning. When you engage like multiple senses,
Yeah.
sight, sound, even touch,
Right.
it helps solidify the information.
Okay.
And for those who like a more hands-on approach,
Yeah.
they recommend keeping a journal.
A journal.
Yeah.
How does that work with 33 words?
Well, the idea is to like
Yeah.
try to incorporate those words into your entries,
Okay.
even if it's just like a few sentences.
So you're tracking your progress,
Tracking your progress,
getting comfortable,
getting comfortable using the words,
and making it more personal.
making the learning process more personal.
That's actually a really good idea.
It is.
Yeah, you take the focus off of just memorizing,
Yeah,
and it becomes more creative.
right. And I bet seeing yourself use those words correctly
Yeah.
day after day
Yeah,
would be a huge confidence booster.
absolutely. Confidence is key
It is.
for language learning.
It's not just about knowing the words.
Yeah.
It's about feeling comfortable using them.
Right.
And that confidence comes from practice,
Hmm.
pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and
Yeah.
embracing those mistakes.
The mistakes along the way.
Oh, yeah. I used to get so flustered
Oh, yeah.
when I would mess up a word or a phrase,
Yeah.
but now I just laugh it off
That's good.
and keep trying.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah, it's all part of the learning curve.
Every mistake is a learning opportunity.
Right?
It helps you identify where you need to improve,
Yeah.
and it gives you a chance to try again.
Try again.
So don't be afraid to experiment,
Mm-hmm.
make mistakes, and have fun with it.
But before we get too carried away
Yeah.
with all this talk of practice and confidence,
Right.
let's take a quick break
Yeah.
and come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, we're back and ready for the final part of our deep dive
Right.
into these 33 essential words.
It's amazing how much we've unpacked,
Yeah.
even though it seems like a simple concept.
Yeah, when you first look at it, you're like, oh, 33 words.
Yeah.
But we've gone pretty deep.
Yeah.
Is it?
As the video points out, though, this is really just the starting point.
Yeah, it's like they've given us the basic tools.
A foundation.
Yeah, now it's up to us to build something.
To build on that.
Yeah, and they give us some suggestions
Oh, they do.
for continuing the journey,
Yeah, like what?
like watching movies with subtitles,
Okay.
listening to music,
Yeah.
Even reading books.
It's all about immersing yourself in the
Yeah.
language, finding ways to make it a part of your daily life.
Yeah.
The more you expose yourself to English, the more natural it'll become.
That's true. I remember when I was learning Spanish,
Oh, yeah.
I started watching telenovelas
Telenovelas.
with subtitles.
Yeah.
They were so cheesy, but
Oh, right.
really helped me kick up
Yeah.
everyday phrases.
Right. And slang.
Yes.
And it highlights something the video touches on.
What's that?
The importance of like paying attention
Yeah.
to how these words are used in different situations.
So it's not just about knowing the definition.
Exactly. It's
Uh,
about how they're used.
Yeah, yeah. How does good change when you're talking about food
Right.
versus someone's personality?
That's a good thought exercise.
Right.
It forces you to think beyond the basic definition. Consider the nuances
Yeah.
of how a word can be used.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's developing a deeper understanding
Deeper understanding.
of how language works.
Yeah. And speaking of nuances,
Okay.
I was impressed by how the video encouraged viewers to think about the emotional weight behind certain words.
Oh, yeah, like happy and sad.
Yeah, not just happy and sad,
Yeah.
but all those shades of emotion.
Like
was
delighted
big.
versus content.
Yeah, those convey different levels of happiness.
Right.
Exactly. And being able to express
Yeah.
those subtle differences in feeling is a key part of effective communication.
Yeah. It lets you connect
Yeah.
on a deeper level.
Don't just tell me you're happy.
Yeah.
Tell me what kind of happy you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to what we talked about earlier.
What's that?
The power of language.
Oh, the power of
To
language.
connect us.
To connect.
To understand each other.
To build bridges.
Yes.
It is remarkable when you think about it.
It is.
These 33 words, seemingly so simple,
Yeah.
can unlock a world of communication
And connection.
and connection.
I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up
I think so too.
this deep dive
We've explored these essential words.
from every angle.
Yeah. And it's clear they're much more
Yeah.
than just a list,
More than a YouTube video.
a starting point for a lifelong journey
Ooh, I like that.
of language learning
And discovery.
and discovery.
So now we want to leave you with a thought.
Oh, a thought to ponder
Yes. What are some simple words
in your native language
that are surprisingly versatile?
or essential for communication.
We encourage you to explore those hidden depths.
The magic within the most basic vocabulary.
Thanks for joining us on this linguistic adventure.
Until next time,
Keep exploring.
the power of words.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how we love to take those deep dives into all sorts of interesting topics to improve your English.
That's right.
Well, this time, we're all about boosting your vocabulary.
Yeah, we found this awesome guide all about advanced speaking tips in English.
And we're zeroing in on adjectives today.
Powerful adjectives, ones you can really use to make an impression.
Exactly. So get ready to go from good to astounding and pretty to exquisite, because we're going to break down not just what these words mean, but when and how to use them like a pro.
It's going to be good.
Okay, let's jump right in. The first word that caught my eye in this guide is astounding. And they define it as causing amazement, bewildering. But how is that different from just saying something is surprising?
Well, think about it this way. Astounding has this sense of being completely blown away.
Oh, I see.
Like you're just speechless.
Right, like if you saw the Northern Lights for the first time, or, like a massive waterfall.
Exactly. Astounding has this root that goes back to the idea of being stunned or dazed.
Wow, that's a much stronger image than just surprised.
Absolutely. It really amps up the level of amazement.
Okay, I'm sold. Astounding it is. So what about exquisite? The guide says it means extremely beautiful and delicate.
This one is all about refinement.
Refinement.
Yeah. Think about something that's not just beautiful, but like carefully crafted
Ah, okay.
with incredible attention to detail.
So like a handmade, intricate piece of jewelry.
Exactly. Or a perfectly prepared gourmet meal, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Those are both definitely exquisite. Okay, next up we have pivotal. The guide says it means of crucial importance in relation to the development or success of something else.
I always think of a hinge when I hear pivotal.
A hinge.
Yeah, like on a door. It's
Oh.
small, but the whole door swings on it, right?
So.
Same with a pivotal moment.
Okay, so it's like that one decision or event that changes everything.
Exactly, like a historical turning point.
Got it. Okay, how about ingenious?
And that's a fun word.
I know, right? It makes me think of some kind of brilliant inventor.
Well, yeah, it implies cleverness, resourcefulness, originality.
So it's not just being smart, it's like coming up with creative solutions to problems.
Exactly. Like, remember when we talked about that guy who built a working airplane out of bamboo?
Oh, yeah. That was amazing.
Totally ingenious, right?
Okay, let's see. What do we have next? Ooh, profound.
This one's deep.
Yeah, deeper than just deep, I think.
Definitely. It's about having a deep and lasting effect on you.
So like reading a book that totally changes your perspective on life.
Exactly. Or having a conversation that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew.
I have had a few of those. All right, diligent. I feel like I don't hear this word enough these days.
It's a good one, though. It really emphasizes steady, earnest, and energetic effort.
So more than just working hard, it's about being dedicated and thorough.
Definitely.
Hey,
You know, putting in the time and effort to get things done right.
I can appreciate that. Okay, last but not least, we have resourceful.
I think this one is super important, especially today.
I agree. What do you think makes someone truly resourceful?
Well, they're able to think on their feet and find clever ways to solve problems, even when things get tough.
And probably not afraid to try something new.
Absolutely. They can adapt to different situations and use whatever they have at their disposal to make things work.
Like that one friend we all have who can fix anything with duct tape and a paperclip.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Well, we covered a lot of ground today, didn't we? So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this deep dive into powerful adjectives?
I think the biggest thing is to just be more aware of the words you're using,
I like that.
because the right words can have such a powerful impact,
They really can,
not just on how you express yourself.
but also how people perceive you.
Exactly.
So for all our listeners out there, I have a challenge for you.
Ooh, I love a challenge.
Pick just one of these awesome adjectives we talked about today and try using it in a conversation sometime this week.
Yes,
And just notice how it feels, how it changes things.
I bet you'll be surprised.
Absolutely. And hey, maybe you'll even inspire someone else to up their vocabulary game.
Spreading the word power.
That's what we're all about. All right, everyone. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep those conversations flowing.
Bye, everyone.
See you later. Hey, everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're talking all about maximizing impact in everyday conversations.
Yeah, using just your words.
Your words, that's right.
So we're going to be taking a deep dive into a guide today called 15 Great Things to Say in Everyday Conversations for Guaranteed Success.
Okay,
Ow.
guaranteed success, huh?
I know, right?
A little bit much.
That title, it's it's a lot.
Can we really transform our communication with just a few phrases?
Well, that's what we're going to be exploring today, right?
Yeah, is this a bunch of BS or is this actually something?
Well, the guide focuses on simple positive phrases to build stronger connections, make conversations more enjoyable and productive.
I can see how that makes sense.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that run the risk of sounding insincere?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like we're just reading from a script.
Yeah, you don't want to sound robotic or anything.
Right.
But it's more about the intention behind the words.
Okay.
Like, think about it.
Yeah.
When someone asks you, how are you today? But you can tell they're not really listening. It feels impersonal, right?
Cold.
So it's all about being present in the moment.
Okay. So you're saying like,
Contact, listen attentively, be genuinely curious.
so it's not the words themselves. It's more about just being an active listener.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the guide suggests phrases like, that's a great point, or could you tell me more about that?
So just acknowledging what someone is saying can go a long way.
Yeah, it shows you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, you're
Right.
actually engaged.
It makes them feel heard.
Yeah, and that can deepen the connection between people.
You know, that actually reminds me of a conversation I had recently with a friend who was telling me about their trip to Italy.
Oh, nice.
And they mentioned something that just sounded really interesting.
Okay.
And I just said, could you tell me more about that?
Yeah.
And it just opened up this whole conversation.
And what happened?
It was amazing. They just lit up and told me all these incredible details about food, the art, the people they met. It went from like a simple exchange to like this really memorable conversation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I really think that just that one question just like made all the difference.
Yeah. So a well-placed question can unlock a treasure trove of information.
That's a great way to put it, a treasure trove.
Yeah.
But I do want to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
Couldn't these phrases also be used manipulatively?
Yeah, you're...
But what if someone is just trying to sound more likable to get something they want?
Well, I think most people are pretty good at detecting when someone is being fake.
Okay, so authenticity is key here.
Right, exactly.
All right, so we've talked about active listening, asking engaging questions.
Yes.
But the guide also talks about validation and appreciation. Things like, I appreciate your help, or I trust your judgment.
Yeah, those are good ones.
Those convey a deeper level of respect, right?
Yeah, like you're acknowledging the other person's expertise.
Their autonomy. So again, it's not just saying the words, it's about understanding the deeper impact of those words.
Absolutely.
Like when you tell someone, I trust your judgment, it really empowers them.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation where someone said that to you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What happened?
I remember when I was trying to choose between 2 job offers,
Oh, wow, yeah.
and one of my mentors said those exact words to me, and it really gave me the confidence to make a decision.
So simple words can have a profound impact.
Totally.
But do you ever find it awkward to use these phrases?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
And that's where I think practice comes in.
absolutely.
It's not about becoming a robot.
No.
It's about incorporating these phrases into our natural communication style.
Right, and I think that's what makes this so fascinating. We're not just learning a set of magic words.
Right.
We're actually exploring human interaction.
Okay, so we've talked about active listening,
Yeah.
asking engaging questions, expressing validation and appreciation. Seems like we're building a foundation for better conversations.
They are.
Now, as we move forward, we're going to be getting into empathy and support. And I'm curious to hear if any of these ideas resonate with you so far.
Yeah, me too. Have you had any experiences where a simple phrase made a difference in a conversation?
You know, that's a great question, and I'm sure our listeners have some stories to share as well, but we'll have to save that for later. So we talked about active listening, asking insightful questions, and expressing validation. But I'm curious about offering empathy and support.
Yeah, for sure. And the guide highlights phrases like, I completely understand. That must have been difficult. And I'm proud of you.
You know, I can see how those phrases can be really helpful, but I'm also wary of saying, I completely understand.
Yeah.
When I don't fully grasp what someone is going through.
Yeah, I totally get it.
It almost feels presumptuous.
It's about acknowledging their feelings, even if you can't relate to their specific situation.
Okay, so it's more about validating their emotions than claiming to have walked in their shoes.
Exactly.
I think sometimes we're so afraid of saying the wrong thing that we end up saying nothing at all.
Yeah, and silence can sometimes be interpreted as indifference.
Right.
Even a simple phrase like, I'm here for you, can be incredibly powerful.
You know, that phrase reminds me of a time when I was going through a really tough breakup, and a friend of mine just sat with me and listened patiently.
Oh, wow.
And at one point she just said, I'm here for you.
And how did that make you feel?
You know, it was so simple, but it meant the world to me.
It's a reminder that you're not alone in your struggles.
Exactly.
Well, you know what's interesting is that empathy actually has a neurological basis.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that empathy isn't just a feeling?
No.
It's an actual phenomenon.
Yeah, our brains actually mirror the emotions that we see.
So when we see someone experiencing an emotion, our brains are kind of experiencing that same emotion.
On a neurological level. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And that's why expressions of empathy can be so powerful in building trust.
So we're literally on the same wavelength.
Yeah, you could say that.
Now I'm wondering, can we train ourselves to become more empathetic?
You know, research suggests that we can.
Wow. So by using these phrases,
Uh-huh.
we're not just improving our communication, but actually rewiring our brains?
It's a win-win.
And now that I think about it, the title of this guide, Guaranteed Success, still feels strong, but I can see how using these phrases consistently can lead to more positive outcomes.
Well, the success isn't about getting what you want from every conversation.
Right.
It's about having healthier relationships and becoming a better communicator.
Well, the guide also talks about compliments and encouragement.
Oh, yeah.
Phrases like, you're really good at that, you handled that really well, you've made a lot of progress.
Those are great examples, but just like we talked about earlier, authenticity is key.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be genuine in your praise.
No backhanded compliments
No.
or forced compliments.
Yeah, and you also want to tailor the compliment to the person you're talking to.
That's a good point. Some people don't like to be praised publicly.
They might find it embarrassing. So it's all about reading the room.
I'm thinking about the phrase, you've made a lot of progress.
Uh-huh.
That one seems really effective when someone's working hard to improve.
It acknowledges their effort and encourages them to keep going.
Exactly like when you were first learning to play the piano.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, you play the piano?
I dabble. I'm certainly no concert pianist,
But you remember struggling with a difficult piece.
Yeah, and my teacher said to me, "You've made a lot of progress."
Yeah.
It kept me motivated to keep practicing.
So it's those little moments that can make a big difference.
Right. Whether it's learning a new skill, navigating a personal challenge, or just getting through a tough day.
So communication isn't just about conveying information.
No.
It's also about building connections,
Yeah.
fostering trust,
Uh-huh.
and inspiring each other.
Exactly.
So the 15 phrases for guaranteed success might not guarantee success,
Uh-huh.
but it highlights how small changes in our communication can have a big impact.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about active listening, empathy, compliments.
We have.
But there's one last piece of the puzzle I want to discuss, and that's practice.
Yeah, practice is essential, just like any skill.
We're not going to magically become master conversationalists overnight.
No, it takes time and effort.
So it's about incorporating these phrases into our daily lives.
Yeah, what if you picked 1 or 2 phrases from the guide each week
I love that idea.
and just focus on using them?
It's like a little experiment.
It is.
And who knows, maybe by the end of this deep dive, our listeners will have their own set of phrases that they like to use.
That would be great because ultimately the goal is to use language in a way that feels authentic to you.
So what are some of the phrases that you personally find most effective?
Well, I'm a naturally curious person, so I often find myself using phrases like, well, like I was saying, I'm a naturally curious person.
Right.
So I often find myself using phrases like, "Tell me more about that," or "That's really interesting, could you elaborate?"
I like those.
It helps me stay engaged and learn more about the other person.
And it shows that you're genuinely interested in what they have to say.
Exactly.
So it's like we're not just talking at each other. We're actually having a dialogue.
We're building that connection.
I love it. And I think that's what makes communication so fascinating.
It's complex.
It's this dance between listening, speaking, understanding, and responding.
It's more than just words.
It's about creating a space where both people feel comfortable and respected.
So when we use phrases like "the ones in this guide," we're setting the stage for more authentic and meaningful conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's a much better definition of guaranteed success.
It's not about manipulating people.
Right.
It's about fostering genuine connections.
And I think that's something we can all strive for.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this exploration of everyday phrases,
What are some key takeaways that our listeners can implement in their own lives?
well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that we all have the power to make a positive impact through our words.
I agree with that.
It's not about being a perfect communicator.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful and present in our interactions.
And being willing to practice.
Exactly. And remember, this deep dive is just the beginning.
It is.
The real learning happens when we start putting these ideas into practice.
And I have a feeling that if we all make a conscious effort to use our words more thoughtfully,
We can create a ripple effect of positivity.
and that's something worth striving for.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep those conversations flowing and those connections strong.